Diplomacy, backroom deals, bribes, corruption. Those are some universalities that transcend species. Politics is a two-faced moron, is a human saying that rings true for everyone. Humanity found itself between a rock and hard place once official contact was established. There was a war going on between two power blocks over a certain sector in the galaxy. Earth and the human solar system as a whole found themselves right in the middle of said conflict. As a matter of fact, the Sol system, as the humans call their home, is very rich. Rich in natural resources, and a very important strategic location. Now, how come they are still independent? How come is their system not a battlefield, filled with foreign fleets vying for control of those oh-so-important resources, crucial for the war effort of both sides? Diplomacy. Humans have proved themselves to be masters of it. Contact was established due to a prospecting fleet going to scout out the system. They were aware that the system probably held a primitive civilization, but they hadn't expected it to already be a spacefaring civilization, in the early stages of spacefaring, that is, but spacefaring nonetheless. Humanity as a whole wasn't informed until most of the formalities have already been done. The humans who were tasked to establish relations with the rest of the galaxy were proficient in their trade. How so? Well, once the Earth governments became aware of the situation they found themselves in, they were split on whose side to join. Who will get the rights for mining and excavating in the system? Who will supply Earth's militaries with new technologies and equipment needed for modernization? With whom will they have trade? After much debate among the leaders of Earth, they came to a unanimous conclusion. Why not both? That was, of course, impossible. Both of the alliance blocks were not stupid, and they went by the doctrine of, if you're not with us, you're against us. How in the hell would they convince both sides to stay clear of their system without any way of projecting force? Each side could send a small fleet and completely decimate any military capability Earth has to defend itself. After all, they had nothing else to offer other than their resources, which could be taken so easily. But that's where the diplomatic experience of humans came to play. A bribe here, a promise there, some territorial rights granted. Companies were established that were completely neutral. To make things even more interesting, they sold shares in almost all of the newly founded companies to both sides. They managed to word some documents to look like they're fair, but in truth, those contracts were anything but. Unequal treaties were signed without the other side even knowing what they signed up for. And according to intergalactic law, they had to honor the contract no matter its contents once signed. Of course, the contract can be nullified if certain criteria were met. Intergalactic law wasn't known for its loopholes, but the humans found them where none seemed to be. The bureaucratic nightmare that ensued was like nothing I'd ever seen in my life. But for the humans, it was, as they said themselves, a normal Tuesday. Some laws had to be rewritten, but many of the deals still held up because they were signed before the change. It came to a point where both sides agreed to leave them alone, just leave them be. They had larger problems to contend with. The war didn't last forever, and it ended eventually. Now, Earth was on a higher priority list for both sides, and they couldn't care less for the fine print. But at this point, Earth had ears, eyes, and hands everywhere. They knew what was coming, and they already made a contingency plan for a situation like this one decade prior. They instigated a war. Well, wars, plural. They funded terrorist organizations on both sides and rebellions. They hid their tracks very well, and both sides blamed each other. Some members even switched sides, but there was no large-scale war to speak of, rather a Cold War of sorts, with a bunch of proxy wars. Guess the mediator for all those conflicts. A neutral entity that had no part in any conflict, at least on paper. Earth. Guess who managed to prop up an entire military-industrial complex in a single system the likes the galaxy had never seen before? Earth. Hell, they even managed to convince everyone it's for their own protection. In reality, they were the ones selling the weapons, ships, and munitions to each side. They made a lot of money. A lot of money. Now I'm sitting in a comfortable chair on Luna, Earth's satellite. Next to me is a human diplomat. A businessman would be a better way of putting it. We've just struck a deal where I would buy some smaller ships that are intended to be civilian vessels. With the same package, I get nearly over 1.000 pieces of military-grade kinetic weaponry. Of course, it will be shipped separately from the ships. But once I get around to selling them to no other than my own nation's enemies, those ships will be equipped with the same weapons. I may have betrayed the nation I represent, but in these unstable times you need to secure your future one way or another. Peace is great. There is no volatility during peace. But during war, there is profit to be made. At first I was disgusted at these practices, but today I can only use a quote I learned from my human partner. If peace sells, then who's buying?